Sifiso Mkhwanazi, accused of the murder of 6 sex workers whose bodies were discovered at a panel beating workshop in Johannesburg, is appearing in the High Court at Palm Ridge today. Mkhwanazi faces charges including murder, rape and robbery. The trial is set to feature testimony from 7 witnesses. Mkhwanazi was apprehended in October 2022 in connection with the crimes. Now, for more insight on this, we cross live now to our reporter, Offense Sitimo. Offense, thank you so much for your time. Just talk to us about what we are likely to expect today in terms of the trial proceedings, specifically around some of those witnesses we are likely to hear from.
Thank you very much, Unati, and a good morning to your viewers. Well, we are expecting the state to actually call its first witness who's actually going to testify to the state's attestation to the fact that, they are saying that the murders of the 6 sex workers were actually premeditated, and that, the argument by the accused, Mkhwanazi, who's actually saying that, the murders were actually not premeditated after he admitted to the murders, saying that, he was actually angered after the sex workers reneged on an agreement for the fee that was going to be paid for the transactional sex, which he was arguing was actually consensual, will actually be debunked by the particular witness who will actually be called by the state. We understand that for the matter to actually go to trial is after a plea arrangement where he was supposed to confess to all of the murders, actually was rejected by the NPA, whereas he wanted to say that, the murders were not premeditated, and in fact it wasn't rape, because he's saying that, as I mentioned earlier, that, the fee that was agreed upon for the transactional sex was actually not agreed upon. So we are going to hear the state actually try to prove the fact that the murders were premeditated and that the rape actually did take place. We know that the charges of rape are 7 and that of murder is 6. This after he was actually charged and he spent about 10 months in prison, but then apparently there was some sort of a settlement with one of the ladies who had alleged or had accused Mkhwanazi of the rape. We understand that that particular lady will be one of the witnesses who will actually be testifying in this particular court today.
Now, what's obviously interesting, Offense, is, of course, what we are likely to speak around, of course, the dangers and the safety, again, around sex workers. Have there been any protests of any kind, during these court cases? Because we know he's been arrested. He was arrested in 2022. He's appeared before this trial. Has there been some form of outrage, protest that you can talk to us about?
Absolutely. In his earlier appearances, I believe it was in the High Court sitting in Joburg, there were organizations that are representing sex workers, some like SWEAT, who actually would actually protest outside court, saying that they want the Minister of Justice, Mr. Lamola, to actually legalize this particular trade, saying because this issue is actually illegal, these guys actually trade in places that are unsavory, leading to them actually working in unsafe environments and also leading to exploitation, whereas even the police officers, the men in uniform themselves, would actually exploit them because their trade is not legal.
Of course, that does paint that picture. Very quickly, before I let you go, of course, you spoke about the one expert witness in this particular case that is expected to testify. What do we know about the 6 others? Have you been brought into light in terms of what they are likely to say and who they are?
Well, we know that, during the identification, it was about 6 of the sex workers who actually positively identified Mkhwanazi as the men who actually picked up the women who were actually found at his father's panel beating warehouse in Johannesburg. So we believe that those ones that positively identified him as picking up the ladies before their eventual deaths will be the ones that definitely will be testifying, actually locating him to be with those people during their last moments before they actually passed on. So we are believing that, the 6 witnesses that the state is actually going to call forward are those that actually are going to, actually submit evidence to the fact that he was seen with the women before they actually passed on. And the fact that they were actually found in his father's panel beating workhouse also, is an issue that, the state will actually be hammering on to prove their case that, he is the suspect and in fact he committed these murders and rapes.